Hey guys, this is some update. So last night I uploaded a video talking about all the data mine stuff that we knew was coming for this update. And now that it's actually here, we can go ahead and take a look at a lot of the stuff, and a lot of this is controversial, that released during the update. There's a post on here that's pretty good at summarizing everything, even though it's still a lot. Something I will say before we even start is I feel like they could have handled this update a lot better, just, based off of the way they implemented it. I think that they could have, instead of just implementing this whole thing at once, they should have just taken it, more gradually and released maybe co-op in one update, then they could have done guilds in another update, then Battle Version 2.1 could have came like a week later, and then maybe they do the Zenkai Awakening thing a different day. But no, instead they just release it all at once. And I just get the impression that a lot of people feel extremely overwhelmed with like the amount of stuff that you have to do now in this game. And I don't really know if that's necessarily a good thing, because you don't want the game to feel like a job. So that's my first criticism of this update. Like just the handling of the implementation of the update itself, which I don't think was that good. I feel like doing it gradually over a set period of time would have done wonders for how people ultimately feel about the update, because I feel like the overall feedback about this update is negative from what I've seen, and we'll go into that as we go through the content here. So, hyper-dimensional co-op, yeah, we know how that works for the most part. I'll do a separate video on that. Guilds, so just about guilds. I have created a guild, and I'll put a pinned comment with this, but I made a tweet earlier today, and it's really hard to choose 29 other people to join your guild, when literally there's hundreds, if not thousands, of people who want to join. So there's really not a fair way of doing this. I'm just going to invite people who I know first, and then, I don't know, it's not going to be that many people, like maybe like 3 or 4 people max. And then the other people who want to join, I have a tweet out that I will put a link to in the pinned comment to this video. I want you to post, if you want to join, post your best meme of Metal Cooler as a reply to the tweet. And then I will pick, X amount of people to join, and I'll DM you the guild code, and then you can join. So that's how I'm going to do this. I'm not taking the guild thing too seriously. I just want to, whoever wants to join can join, but that's how I'm going to go about inviting people. So that's that. The Battle Version 2.1, I feel like I can go over that in a separate video as well. There's a lot to go off of here. The tackle is like steroid tackle. Backing up is pretty... Well, it's not useless anyway. It's not useless, but it's not nearly as good as it used to be. And strike attacks became better. So that's pretty much the gist of it. Then we got Zenkai Awakening, and then this is one of the big features. This and the new star system, I feel like, is going to be the focus of this video overall. Okay, so... Well, actually, I think we should just go through the star system first. We'll come back up here afterwards. So the limit break stages. This is a good... Actually, they did a good job with this chart, I think, of representing how the limit break system worked before and how it works now. There are now 14 stages that you can get to instead of 7, because obviously the limit prior to this update was 7 stars, right? That was the most you could limit break a character to. And in order to limit break a character to 7 stars, they needed to have 9,999 Z power, which we can see down there, right? The old one on the left. Acquire Z ability 7, or sorry, Z ability 4, 7 stars, 9,999 Z power. That was the absolute limit of what you could do. Now, 7 stars is up here at 3,000 Z power. So that's less than a third of the amount of Z power that you needed to get to 7 stars. But after that, there are these red stars that sort of overlap the original stars, and they just go back up to 7. So there's 14 in total. And it only really starts to differ once you get down to 5 stars at 1,900 Z power. So that's about a little bit more than 3 dupes, or 3 copies of the unit, right? Because each copy gives 600 if it's sparking. So once you get to 5 stars, the new 5 stars, you start to get more stats, and this is where the stuff sort of comes into play, where a lot of people are very unhappy with this update. So once you get 3,000 Z power, you can do Zenkai Awakening, which is important for later. We'll talk about that. But notice how much additional stats you're getting, starting at 3,000 Z power, moving downward on the right side here. So you get 3% at 7. Red Star 1 gives 3. Red Star 2 gives 5, which is the same as what it used to be over here. Red Star 3 gives 2, Red Star 4 gives 2, Red Star 5 gives 2, Red Star 6 gives 2. So literally all of these 2% are going to add up to giving your characters a lot higher of a stat boost than they would normally have had. Let's go take a look actually here. We could see it. That's not the right one. We can see this in person. Character list. So for example, we take a look at, I don't know, this Frieza. Want to see what his stats are like? I haven't touched this guy. He's level 3,000. He has not been boosted on the soul boost system at all. He has 150,000 strike attack. Look at all the stats. These are not even close to how good his stats were before the update. So basically what happened was, let's just go back to the news. I just want to make sure you guys are understanding why this is happening. Because I saw a lot of people were confused about this, and they were like, why do I have more stars on my units? Why do I have more stats? Well, the stars is easy to explain, right? You can just take a look at this chart. So if you had a unit who was previously, I don't know, 5 stars here, it's possible they're 7 stars now, right? Because you start here at 5. So right here, right? So let's say you have 3,000 Z power for that unit. They would have been 5 stars before the update, but now they'd be here at 7, right? 3,000. But you wouldn't really understand why unless you look at this chart. That's why I think this chart's actually really helpful. But basically with the stats, that's just artificial inflation because they're adding these intervals in here that were not there prior to the update, right? Like this interval was not here. And like all these intervals where you see a value on the right side of the screen where there's just blank space on the left side of the screen. So, I mean, ultimately that adds up to what, like 16%? Let's just look. 2, 8, 10, 12. Yeah, it's 16%. Total extra stats you're getting. So 16% extra stats for basically all of your units once they reach the 9,000 Z power threshold, basically. So the reason why a lot of people are upset, and honestly, they have justification in being upset over this, is notice how most of the extra stats that you're getting, most of the additional, stat increases, boosts that you're getting from the system are all coming from the end parts of this, whereas up here it's all like similar to how it used to be. It's all the same. So this is going to favor people who are able to get more Z power on their units, aka people who spend money on the game, and people are saying now the game is pay to win, which honestly is not incorrect. So that's basically how the new star system is going to work. Hope you guys understood that. It might take a little bit to get used to. I'm still getting used to it. I think these red stars look a little bit weird, but it is what it is. I definitely don't think this is the way the game should be going, even though I do have a lot of units at 7 stars, 6 stars for like the old system. And I'm thankful that they're doing this because it's gonna help me out. But for the vast majority of players, this is not a good change. I feel like they should have spread out these extra bonuses like more throughout the earlier stages as well as not just the end. Because look how many are here. You have 3, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14% just coming from this point forward. So you basically need a unit at the 5-star level prior to the update to get all of these stats here. So most free-to-play players / light spenders don't necessarily have the units to keep up with that. But we take a look at Zenkai Awakening, and I feel like this is a way that they're sort of counteracting that because they're buffing this Broly and this Goku. Less so Beerus, because I feel like Beerus is still Legend Limited and he's very, very hard to obtain. But the Goku and the Broly, I feel like most players who have been playing since like day 1 or early on in the game at least have a 5-star Goku, at least have a 5-star Broly. Well, maybe not Broly, because Broly is a little bit harder to get than Goku, but I don't know, like these guys look really ridiculous once you start looking at like what they can do with Zenkai Awakening. So the way let's just actually take a look at Zenkai Awakening. There are 7 levels of Zenkai Awakening, and as you collect certain amounts of Awakening Z power, Awakening boost panels will be unlocked for each class of the character's soul boost boards. Not only that, a character's statuses and abilities will be strengthened simply by Zenkai Awakening them, making them feel like a whole new character. Your party will benefit too, as certain levels of Zenkai Awakening will unlock Zenkai abilities with strengths in your whole party, which gets ridiculous, by the way. I'll show you guys after this. Aside from status increases, there are also various benefits to unlocking Awakening boost panels, such as increased arts levels or the acquisition of new unique abilities. Aim for the new realm of power to your favorite characters with Zenkai Awakening. So the way you actually obtain the Awakening Z power is, I believe it's through the missions that are available. So it's you don't have to pay for it. It's there. It's in the missions tab. Yeah, see, there are special missions for each character who can be Zenkai Awakened. Clearly, to obtain up to 1,000, there's Awakening Z power. And then also planning to release special summons, which drop Awakening Z power. So I guess at that point you do have to summon, which is kind of annoying. But I think at the very least they're gonna at least give you the first step here. So you're gonna be able to get 1,000 just from doing the missions, which is okay, because it gives you the first stage of the Zenkai. But it goes all the way up to 7, and things start to get really ridiculous once you get all the way down to here, because this ability, like all these Zenkai abilities, they literally just get unique abilities at some point. It's like, it's ridiculous. So let's actually go ahead and take a look at oh yeah, something else I forgot to mention too was the way you get these special Zenkai Currency. Let's just did I even mention that here? No. Let's go back, because I believe there was a different tab here that mentioned it. Zenkai Awakening right here. Okay, scroll down. Yeah, so the missions we talked about this. This is basically the panel that you use to Zenkai Awaken a character. This core panel right there. And the way you get these things, you get these through the co-op mode. So people are going to be playing co-op mode a lot, which is fine. But look how ridiculous this is. These are the abilities you get when you Zenkai Awaken a character. This is for the Red Namek Goku. This is the first one, by the way, so I think you'll be able to get this just with the free 1,000 Zenkai power they give you. So increases the following statuses of characters that are both element red and Saiyan. So red Saiyans. 20% to base strike attack, 15% to base blast attack, 15% to base strike defense, 20% to base blast defense. That's ridiculous. And then you get these sleeves, right? But something I do want to show you real fast. Let's go over here, go to Soul Boost. Let's do red. Saiyan. Where are you? Right here, right? I haven't actually boosted this guy at all. Where do I... Oh, maybe it's under here. Yeah, so these like extra panels. This is what lets you Zenkai Awaken a character, right? You take a look at what it requires. It's really expensive. And then this, like, this is where you see the difference. I don't know if you can, it's kind of hard to see it, but this thing right here, that's the usual one that you use, like, for the normal Awakenings. But then this, it turns into these new ones. This is the thing you get from the co-op mode. So, yeah, that is, I mean, let's just go all the way over here, right? We take a look at what this requires. I mean, look at that. It's so expensive. Even just one panel. It costs, I mean, that's kind of not that bad, right? But these are what require the big bucks, kind of. Like, that's a lot to spend on one character. One panel for one character. Then you got, I believe there's one over here. Yep, the same one over here. So it's like, it's gonna rack up after a long time. But that's pretty much the gist of how the new star system works. And how the Zenkai Awakening system is going to work. It's kind of controversial, and I get that. And I understand why a lot of people are upset, and they have the right to be upset, because I feel like, let's just go back to what I was talking about earlier. Again, I don't think the game should be moving in a direction where they're like loading up on the back end of characters awakening. So like once you're past like the new 7-star area, then you're going to start racking up the stat boosts much faster than you would have before that. So I feel like they could have just made, like, let's say for example they made this one, instead of 5% it was like 8%, and then they got rid of one of these, like 2 or something. That would have been better. Like, they could just do that. But the reason why they did this, and I was thinking about this earlier, like, why would they do this? Prior to this update, there was essentially no benefit to continue summoning from 6 stars to 7 stars, unless a unit like Super Vegito comes out and you have a 7-star Z ability that was limited to 7-star LimitBreak, right? Which they only did like once or twice. I think a Super Vegito had it, and then I think Red Android 18 had it as well, which is bizarre. But think about this. It took 5,000. So look, right? 5,000 Z power. You get to 6 stars pre-update. And then in order to get to 7 stars, you need to get basically double that amount. So from here to here, it costed the same amount of Z power to get from here all the way down here. And look at all this blank space. Look at all this blank space on the left side. That provided no benefit whatsoever. So that's why people were not motivated to summon, like whales were not motivated to summon past 6 star. But now, look at all these stat bonuses you get from summoning. That's why they made this change. So it was purely just because they wanted more money, essentially, like every other change they make. But yeah, that's pretty much going to cover it. Let me know down below what you guys think about this change, and I will definitely leave the guild tweet that I made as a pinned comment. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one.